Well, my oven stopped working. I did a little bit of research, and what I found is that the F1 error code that was displayed on the panel was telling me that it was likely this sensor right here. So it's an oven temperature sensor, and I need to replace it. So let's remove the plug from the wall, the outlet, and so I don't electrocute myself here. Safety first, always. So here's the new sensor that I picked up at my local appliance repair shop. It was $52 Canadian. And let's just see if this looks the same as what's originally in the stove or the oven. And yeah, that looks pretty good. So here I'm going to remove the back panel. I'm going to use my cordless gun, but you can use a regular screwdriver as well. And so just need to expose the electrical in the back of the oven. Here's where the new sensor is going to clip in, and I need to remove this little panel here so that I can have full access to replacing the sensor and the wire. So as we can see, there's been problems in the past. This is a used oven and stove, and so the insulation doesn't look great. Here's where the sensor would be clipped in here. So I'm going to remove this old sensor, taking out the screws. Again, you can use a screwdriver. A little bit difficult in filming and doing this work at the same time. But here we are, screws are off, and here's the sensor, pulling it out. Nice hole there to feed the clip through. And we have a look here, and what I purchased is exactly the same, so we're in good shape. So let's just feed this new one through the hole and set it there, and I've screwed it in. It was too difficult to film and screw the screws back in. So here we are. Now we need to reattach the new wire to the existing wire that will transmit the information from the sensor to the oven. I've done that. I've also added some extra insulation because I just didn't like the way that insulation looked like in the existing conditions. So let's put the panels back on. You can just thread them in by hand. Get the back panel on. It's got a couple of slots that it needs to line up with, and then now let's get the screws back in and finish up our replacement of these covers. Again, let's work safely first. Not plugged back in yet, just want to recover everything that was exposed before I insert the stove outlet plug again and power it up. Here we are. So now we've got the clock is working. So I'm going to adjust to the time that we're at. Almost there, just slight adjustment. Now the big reveal is to see whether or not now my oven is working. So let's close the oven door and turn on the main switch here, and let's set the temperature and see how we respond. So far everything's looking okay. What are we doing here? Well, there you go. The oven has turned on, so the sensor is working, and the sensor was the problem in as described by the F1 code. So you open up the door, the fan stops as a safety feature, so our oven is back to its full functionality. So I'll just shut that off, and voila, there you go. A simple, mildly expensive repair, but everything is working fine again. If it wasn't this sensor, then it could have been the actual control panel, which in Canadian dollars would be over $250 to replace.